the thought arises, doesn't it? And there's a sense of here. It's here where you see it. And this common awareness is where the ego hides out. So it feels like you're stuck here, and people start looking for the not here. They're looking for their natural state, their true nature. And then when the true nature awakens, there's still a here, but the here is just a reflection. It's just a sense of here that is also directly experienced by what is not here, the I am, okay, the witness. Okay, so when the I am awakens, when the awareness that no one's doing is what begins to discriminate, you'll still have the patterns playing out, and there'll be a local awareness, where the thought from your body is coming into, will start be happening. But you don't need to be attached to any of that. None of that needs to come back into I am. From there, you don't need to come back from I am. If you're caught up in the here, then I am needs to be known. That itself has to be the knowing, and the here has to be known. And the knowing of the here needs to be the reality, the only thing that you can truly know. The here is just a reflection or self-evidence of the I am. And the I am, so there's no one going into the I am. No one going into the I am. The I am is, as they say, it just is. And the local awareness can still play out weird patterns. It can still be crazy thoughts, as the previous questioner said, this thought comes in to want that for itself, that can still play out. But even from there, that playing out, it just needs to be seen. None of that can come into and go deeper into awareness. Awareness is just to be realized. Okay, it can't be found, it has to be realized. And when this awareness that is seeing becomes established as the I am or the witness can then, from the standpoint of I am, what you truly know, you can investigate as that, the innermost, the complete non-location, the very essence of I amness, which is just essence. It's just a wonderful, frequency. I'd say frequency. It's more of a frequency. It's like an om. It's a sound of om, whatever. And from that, you can feel that essence. You can see, this is where in India they talk about transmission, because you actually start to transmit the very essence of what you know. So by being in what you know, which, as I've said before, doesn't know anything other than what it knows in this perfect moment, from its innermost, it's transmitting the essence of its nature, of its true nature. And from that essence is what creates a new thought. So we have the pattern thoughts in our conditioning in our body, but we can also come into that and create a new thought, you see. We can create a new kingdom, so to speak, from the Christ principle. Yeah. So allow, don't let there be anything that needs to go into I am. Don't let there be a need to get in that. Let I am be realized without anyone doing it. And it's, as I've said in the past, it's like looking at one of those computer generated images where you just look at it, and no matter how hard you try and find what it is, it's only when you let go it suddenly appears. A little bit like that. The awareness that no one's doing, the light of consciousness, you see. You can look at an object, and when you look at an object, the local awareness will tell you what it is, will be awareness itself, but there's a much subtler awareness behind it all. There's a light of consciousness that no one's actually doing. And nothing from your local awareness or your common awareness needs to do anything to come into this. That's why they call it awakening, because it itself awakens to its natural state without doing anything. And when it awakens, you come to see that it never awakened. It was always there, you see. You know, it was always there. But recognizing it, or gnosis recognizing itself, coming away from that attachment to think yourself, can take a person a lifetime, can take a person lifetimes, you know. But it's simple, very simple. If you feel there's a need or there's something going into the I am or do whatever, fine, just even let go of that. Even let that be seen. Go deeper into the seeing of that. Thank you. So movement from I am is handled by what is not here and happens through seeing only. So movement from I am is handled by what is not here, also happens through seeing only. Yeah, you could say that. You could say that. The movement of I am is, you've used the word movement. Now I have to explain what movement is. Okay, so the movement of I am is through seeing only. It's when you remain as the I am, as soon as a thought arises naturally from the body, in the work you're doing or the person you're talking to, it's all happening naturally. The I am, in its direct experience of what's happening to your body, is flowing into your body. It's like a flow. It's wherever there's a thought, wherever there's a pattern, wherever there's a sensation, the I am is the direct experience. So it gives the sense of a pull, like, a pull to attention, so to speak. And in that attention is where you meet a thought. There's a slight tension, but what is seeing is primal tension. So there's like a flow, a movement. You come to see that nothing's ever really happened, and the happening is not separate from what's never happened. It's a very paradoxical thing that can only be seen via this awareness. So again, for you, it's about becoming more established as the I am, and seeing how anything can happen, but none of it qualifies the I am. Yet the I am is the direct experience being pulled, or seemingly it feels as if it's being pulled, like a flow into something coming into your mind, something happening in your body, something taking your attention to something in a distance, seeing something happen. There's just, you come to see that no one's actually doing it, and that the I am is the movement of all of this, you see. So it's a wonderful meditation, simply by being. Question. I've got another question. Questions are coming tonight, so this is good. Question 2. Steve, I was with friends recently, and this relationship through patterns was so obvious in conversation that it felt like this communication was the unfamiliar to me. I was just, I have to use my finger, I was just happy to be there with them, but I did not feel a pull into pattern. Consequently, I spent a great deal of my time with my friends being quiet, listening. Not deliberately, it's just the energy to relate as patterns was greatly diminished. This surprised me. Can you talk about this in your experience? Thanks, Thule. Yes, I can talk about this. This is a very interesting subject as well. The as you begin to become more established as the I am, as the witness, as the moment, you know, it's often been called the natural state, and after a while it does feel very natural. It just feels a natural, no need to go into the pattern of types of communication. Yeah, the natural state does listen. It's the experience of the whole thing. So it's the listening of the whole thing. I think it was, who was it? A French philosopher, Jean Klein, called it listening. You know how teachers have their different lingo or their different words for things. He called meditation listening. Gnosis is listening. Okay, because it's the experience of all things. Now, if you're becoming used to that, if you're with friends and they may be in their familiar way talking, and it's strange because now you're unfamiliar, and it's a wonderful feeling. I'm in that all the time, and I love it. I love being with someone and hearing them speak and sharing their experience, their life, family, children, work, relationship, anything, a walk, a holiday. It's wonderful to listen and be attentive via the natural state of just pure experience. And you'll see that sometimes you just come in and speak and say something, and then you come back to what is experiencing, and it's wonderful. Okay, so what you're speaking of is, it's like you've really found yourself now, being with your friends. You found that rallying point to sanity. You know, you don't have to be anything other than what you are, listening. And if there's a movement to say something, then your body will, you'll feel it in your body. You know, you'll respond in whatever way. There is a dark side to it as well. You know, I mean, what you mentioned there is a very positive side of it, but there's also quite a dark side to it as well. Because as I've said in the beginning of this talk, or during this talk, is that the ego likes to collude. You know, it's very familiar with yourself, and and it's this activity where we judge ourselves, by what we think, what we feel, and we create a reaction, an identity that then colludes with other people's identities. And sometimes if you hang around people that are in the identity, that have known you for a long time, they don't allow you to be in this space, and they try and bring you back into the familiar, you see. And it can feel very uncomfortable in the beginning when you are just when you've just found yourself, when suddenly you've got friends who want you to be the old self, and this is where it ties into my experience. And let me explain. When the awakening occurred in 1999, the following day, the reality was different. The reality opened up, and this old Steve didn't exist anymore. There was just this witnessing, this abiding, this undifferentiated consciousness was without facade or effect or anything really. And I suddenly became very curious of life for the first time. I was experiencing life for the first time, when up until that moment of awakening, all experience to my life had been stolen via this false reaction to my life, you see. And this false reaction has often been called the false self in clinical terms or counseling terms. And so suddenly this false sense of doership falling away. There I was in company, um, just curious. The first curiosity I got was seeing people for the first time without having that self-centered fear that came from the old ego, how I should be, how I should feel, how I should be responding, which I was never good at anyway. I think that's why my ego just fell away quite quickly, happened quite quickly, because it was absolutely rubbish. I didn't have a clue about a lot of stuff. I struggled a lot with interpersonal relationships and things like that, and not knowing who I was, certainly. So, but what I found was I was where I was seeing from. I was just looking at people, thinking, not thinking, but present, that where I was seeing from, what awakened in me, the natural state, was in them as well. That was an incredible thing. And so seeing people for the first time and seeing that everyone has this true nature, and that is the reality. Suddenly, the reality in talking with people was established in this wide open space. And but what I noticed quite quickly was not a lot of people saw it. Not a lot of people related from that depth that I could see, or that awakened or opened up in me, you see. So after a while, I also noticed that, because I was around quite nice people, everyone was into recovery, talking about a program and stuff like that. But then after a while, I noticed that I couldn't be around the ego for long either, you see. I started to see that, even in noble areas, such as people work in a spiritual program, I found it quite difficult when I'd be with someone and they had a lot of passion, but their passion was something that was possessing their experience, even if it was positive, and I couldn't be around it. I just found it was a drain, because their passion or their separation would pull my attention to collude. They'd want a response from or an affirmation coming from me, and sometimes I couldn't give that affirmation. I didn't agree with it, or I felt uncomfortable um, being around that, what I call pollution. It started to feel like pollution, ego traffic, ego activity. After a while, I would get dizzy if I was around someone who was courting my attention. You know, so I noticed after a while, if someone wanted my attention and I gave them my attention, I connected with them, and they were doing something with it, I would feel it and not feel comfortable with it. And here I began to realize why, when you start to become more established as awareness, or the I am, how selective you become. Not judgmental, certainly not judgmental, but just selective. I began to see fewer people, or um, not be around certain groups or certain things. Certainly not watch things on TV. Even, I would come away from that, because as that deepened, and the sensitivity aspect, I found if people wanted my attention in a way to pull me into agreement or collusion with ego, then yeah, I would feel quite uncomfortable. You see. So there's a dark side to it as well. That's the dark side. The dark side is it's very hard to be around ego pollution. And that's why masters go off and sit in caves, or people live in ashrams, because that silence, that peace, as it becomes more established and it becomes more the experience, you know, the less inclined it is to, seek excitement or gossip or story, or it just becomes bored of all of that. And that's the truth. It becomes bored of it. It's not interested in that kind of thing.